going on, y'all? Peace, peace, peace. Peace to everyone out there, man. Peace to everyone out there. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a fucking rat running amok in New York streets with the coronavirus. Feel me? Peace to everyone and everything. Um, I hope everyone is feeling centered. I'm hoping everyone is feeling balanced because I do know how difficult it is to do so. I've had a rough couple days myself, and although you guys might not be able to tell, I'm being honest. That's the thing about me. I like to be transparent and vulnerable. And not vulnerable in the sense of someone being able to attack me, but vulnerable in the sense of you being able to see that I'm no Superman. Feel me? So, what I wanted to talk about, I woke up this morning wanting to pay homage. And although I had to go to work super early, I didn't have time to do this earlier. So, I'm a break this up into quite a few different segments, probably like 3 to 4. But what I wanted to do is pay homage. And by paying homage, I wanted to, I wanted to talk about some of my early influences, some things that kind of influence me now, early inspirations, some of that stuff. And hopefully it provokes some thought and has you guys thinking like, damn, who's my influences? Who's my inspirations? Because we don't do that enough. A lot of people got that phrase being passed around that you got to give people their flowers while they're here. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to break down this video into a few parts and actually give some people their flowers while they're still here. So with that being said, all praises be to the Most High, first and foremost. I should say the Most High, of the Most High, of the Most High, of the Most High. Because, like I told you guys before, it's an infinite thing. But all praises be to that. And all praises be to the highest order of the greater good. You heard? So, let's go. Let's get to it. So, one of my first influences, I got two offhand that I could think of right away. That's my mom and my cousin Pete. When my mom was born and raised in New York, Long Island, Queens, that whole shebang. You know what I mean? And she ended up moving to Atlantic City and moving to Springfield eventually. But her goal or her intentions was to not raise children where she was from. And what's crazy about that is all the friends that grew up with me, I like to call them my brothers and my sisters, all the people that grew up in my cipher will tell you, we all thought we was from Queens. I never thought about that until like 6 months ago on how my mom tried to move away from New York so that I wouldn't I don't want to say become a New Yorker, but become the environment in which she had me. You know what I mean? And I still ended up feeling like I was from Queens, like always listening to Mobb Deep and talking the Dun language. It's just funny as fuck. With Nas and all, everyone from Queens, but not doing it purposely. Capone and Noriega, I wasn't trying to be a Queens guy. It's just, there wasn't many. I mean, you guys might be able to contest, but I grew up in a household with 30 niggas in it. You know what I mean? 30 brothers, 30 sisters. Like, we were acting like we were like from New York without even knowing that was a thing. You know what I mean? We was always clicked up. Like, when I'm saying, I'm talking about like 30 niggas and 3 guns. Like, that's it. And it wasn't even enough bangers to go around for the amount of people that we had. You know what I mean? So that's how I was raised and that's how I was brought up. But anyhow, in any event, my mom came here, met my father, had me, and they didn't stay together like most people in our culture. They either, there's differences, whether it be on the man's part or the woman's part. I didn't hold no malice towards my father for taking off, or I didn't hold no malice for my mom for taking off, because everyone's got their side of the story. You know what I mean? But all in all, I can honestly say that one of my earliest influences was my mother. My mother was very, very, very strong, very headstrong, very strong, very confident, very opinionated, very creative, very witty, and just someone to be influenced by. You know what I mean? And a lot of guys won't live up to that or own up to that. They want to give credit to their dad, and it's not that I don't want to give credit to my father. It's not that I want to discredit my father. It's just that wasn't my influence. My influence was my mother. My mother was my backbone, and she taught me at a very young age, from the time I dropped out the womb, where I can remember, how to value myself and how to and to know your worth. You know what I mean? I always knew my worth. I always knew my value, and that's thanks to my mother. Like, without her, I probably would have been really jammed up out here. You know what I mean? But thanks to her, I have clarity. My third eye was opened very young. I had an awareness that most children don't have at that age. I got into a lot of different things, but the things that I got into, I was very cautious, and I picked my battles wisely. And when I'm saying picking my battles, I'm not talking about picking fights. I'm talking about choosing what I wanted to confront or conflicts I wanted to allow to become me. You follow me? In my household, my mom was a creative. She made crafts. She would get sweatshirts, blank sweatshirts. And I'm talking about, I'm like 12, 11. My mom would get blank sweatshirts and add things to the sweatshirts, whether it was paint, lace, pearls, all types of stuff, glitter, sequins. She was just getting busy with it. She was designing her own jeans. And this is like a 30-year-old woman in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, and whether that comes through her having the blood of a New Yorker or her just being born from another creative, because my grandmother was the same way. And I remember when my grandmother moved here from New York, well, she actually moved from New York to Texas and then came from Texas to Springfield. But when she moved here, her and my mom were getting busy. I remember they used to just spend hours and hours and hours on just creating things, creating baskets and selling crafts and making magnets from scratch and all that stuff. So my mom was a creative. I grew up in a household where she showed, or the creative juices were flowing in the household. Music was always being played. Donna Summers, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, even old school shit like the Temptations and the Dells and all that stuff. Like, my mom really, whether she knew it or not, she was influencing me. You know what I mean? And I appreciate her. She's always been there for me. She's always supported me with any and everything that I've ever done. Still to this day. You know what I mean? So it's important that we acknowledge that, because a lot of guys want to give credit to their fathers. And like I said, it's not to discredit my father, and it's not to act as though there wasn't a father figure in my life. Because in the beginning, after her and my father split, my mom met my sister's father, and my sister's father ended up coming into my life with me being an infant. And then he stayed around till I was around 6, and then they split. But he stayed in my life till around 12, 13. And he didn't necessarily leave out of my life. I just kind of like grew up. Like, I got involved with street shit, so to speak. And not street shit in the sense of out here busting my gun and flipping keys and tying up snitches and all that. Nah, just getting involved with street things. You know what I mean? But yeah, she was an influence. She's the reason why I'm into fashion. Like, you know, my grandmother was into fashion, so my mom was into fashion, and I'm the byproduct of those two people coming together and having the same interests. So my mom had like a crazy fashion palette, like, you know what I mean? Like, she would buy some of the craziest looking stuff, things. I mean, even my daughters have it, that most people wouldn't wear, but knew how to wear it. And again, that was an influence on me. You know what I mean? And she gave me strength. She gave me fashion sense. She gave me wit. She gave me perspective. And she gave me clarity, which was the most important thing. I was never clouded as a child. Never clouded. No matter what we were going through. Because my mom's not perfect. but her imperfections were perfect in my eyes. There was nothing my mom could do to steer me away from her because she was so honest and truthful with the shit she was doing, no matter what it was. Most parents hide a lot of shit from their children, and their children grow up with a disdain towards them. So that never happened in my household. You know what I mean? I mean, my sister and her would go back and forth and bump heads because my sister had a lot of her ways. But for the most part, my mom was always honest with us and taught us to be honest. And through that honesty, I garnered a lot of friends. You know what I mean? I became magnetic. A lot of people wanted to be around me due to my honesty. You know what I mean? Due to my truth. Due to me knowing who I was at such a young age. You know what I mean? So all praises be to her. That's my God. I had, like, it's crazy. Like, just thinking about it on how ill she is. Like, you know what I mean? There were times, I mean, she, you know, I can't tell too much of what she's been through because that's her story to tell. But just to give you shed some light on some of the things that I witnessed and watch her persevere through, there was a situation that happened when I was probably around 6 or 7 years old where she was dating a guy who took us out to the city, got into an argument with her, and beat her in front of me. I think my sister was even there. Yeah, my sister was there as well, but my sister was really, really young. I don't even know if my sister remembers that or not. But yeah, the guy beat my mom to a pulp in front of us. We were too young to do anything. Left us out there stranded. I don't remember what part of New York it was. I just remember it being New York, and it was outside of his family's house. And he took off. And when he took off, his family, either my mom remembered the bell and the apartment number that we had visited, or they looked out the window. I can't really remember if I was really young. But I remember the dude beating on my mom and her just being bloody and battered. And my mom using every penny she had in her pocket down to her charge cards that she had to get us back home. Like, we even flew on one of these little mini jets because there was no flights to come back on. So we actually came back in style, even though my mom was beat up and shit. We came back in style, where my sister's father's closest friend of the time took us in for a couple weeks until we found a shelter. You know what I mean? And then I had to stay in the shelter with my sister and my mom, and we had to cook on a hot plate. So shit was real, and there's a lot more to that, but I can't give you too much. You know what I mean? Over time, as I'm chronicling, you'll get enough of my story, but that's the influence. That's my earliest influence is my mom. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that, and stay tuned for the next segment. Peace.